Final here, of course, 8 years ago to be precise. They've also had some memorable Six Nations moments on this ground and not always going their own way. And whilst we cannot argue that tonight has the extra edge of those occasions, given what's just around the corner, this is a very important night in England's 2015 World Cup preparations. For France, about to come out of their changing room, here's a team that needs a win, and against big league opposition as well, given that France's major pull test at the Rugby World Cup should be Ireland in Cardiff. The Irish currently ranked number 2 in the world. It would not bode well if Chris Robshaw's men beat France on their patch tonight. History tells us that France's World Cup dreams would not be broken. Crikey, they lost to Tonga last time and nearly won the thing. But another loss would clearly not be good news for a team that has got used to losing. This the World Cup way, to line up alongside each other in the tunnel. And Pascal Pape back into the side to lead the team here in Paris. Here they come.
The World Cup looks likely to be fought over the breakdown battleground. Cue Joe Launchbury, England's outstanding turnover operator. Lacking the back row specialists of New Zealand, Australia and South Africa, England's breakdown needs to be a collective effort. The Wasp will be at its very heart. As for France, well, keep an eye out for Eddie Benarous. Is the loose head prop going to prove the future of French front row play? The 24-year-old is fast emerging as one of the most powerful scrummagers France has produced in years. And watch him cover the ground, he can really shift.
Here come the anthems. It's a crackling atmosphere. Replacements. And Jamie George at hooker, a first cap awaits, a big night awaits. Luke Cowan-Dickey, having failed to hit the mark when he came on last week. Nick Easter in for his first involvement of this mini-series. It's also got the feel of Last Chance Saloon for Atwood, Cipriani and 12 Trees.
Well, 5th choice until Dylan Hunt for the World Cup. He saw the door of opportunity open wide last week, and I reckon he has the technique and the temperament to storm through it here in the capital of France.
England's record here at the Stade de France, not bad at all really. France have 6 victories, England 4. Of course, last week was the 100th meeting between these two. England doing enough to get the win. 1914, doing more than enough with those tries. Some excellent scores. It's sort of hanging on at the end.
Gael Fickou, 2014, broke England's heart with a late match-winning score. Breaks haven't gone his way since. He needs a little bit more of that magic if he is to make the French squad.
If we know which way.
Jaco Piper is the referee, as he will be on the opening night of the Rugby World Cup when England meet Fiji. An awful lot of these England players in tonight's 23 will be there for that one as well. And this evening will determine in what shape they will be in and who'll be going with them on the journey. Early touch there for Michalak, wearing 10, but quite happy, of course, given his history, to step in as the 9. There's the real 9, scrum half Sebastian Tiersport, the Toulon pairing. Early touch for Billy Bonapola, but the flag is up. And that's a good gain for France.
Fantastic kick from Tiersport there. I think he's one of the most underestimated players in France. He was very much the chaperone, you know, to Johnny Wilkinson in the last few years in Toulon. Wilkinson got all the glory, but he did a lot of the hard work. One of the key features of his game is his box kicking, but that is a fantastic game from a narrow angle.
Key feature of England's game has to be this throwing into the line-out. Tom Young's very reliable in club rugby, we know that. Had his moments internationally, but and a lot of really good moments as well, both in England colours, in Lion colours as well. Out of the side from Vunapola, who's lost a stone, still a giant, but he's never felt fitter, he says. Thrown back in, so Ford just goes down the middle. Here's Scott Spedding, big fullback. Made 4 appearances in the Six Nations. And there's an advantage here to the home side with LaRue. Back goes Ben Youngs, that's covered. So the referee, Piper, will return for that penalty.
Luther Burrell, the man penalised. George Ford went downfield, offering Spedding the opportunity to run it back. He did just that. Big tackle first of all, but there you can see the Northampton centre, too slow to roll away, and Piper penalised him, arm up very quickly to give the penalty. It's also going to be really useful for England tonight having Jaco Piper referee, because against Fiji, you know, a game that can just break up when you play the Pacific Islanders, you want to know as much as you can about the way a referee referees the game. Really advantageous, I think, for England having the South African referee tonight.
France will get him as well in their pool against Romania. Maybe not quite the same significance. The referee's role that day, that will be a game that France will be expected to win, and win well.
That's a tremendous tackle by Burrell, but you know, no doubt at all, he did roll away slowly, and England do need to eliminate all these breakdown errors.
So it's Spedding from a long way out. He's France's big boot, and he's certainly got the distance. He's got it all right. Everything about it. Scott Spedding, the man from Krugersdorp in South Africa, and they love him here in Paris.
England go very quick.
Out on the full.
Too quick. Ford went for the half kick that Dan Carter has mastered so much, but he was so hurried in it, he just didn't quite get the weight of it right. Little error there. Also quite interesting, is it though? England 3-0 down. The first thing they wanted to do wasn't settle themselves, was accelerate the game.
So it wasn't the cleanest of line-outs from England. What about this first scrum? Two question marks about the England performance up front last week. If there's any reason to panic, England haven't become a poor forward side overnight. Look at the turf cutting up there. Both sides suffering, causing that collapse up front. And that could be dangerous, it really could. No hand! Big chunks of turf taken out there. There's LaRue, another one of the South African imports. Mike Brown does not for the mark. Knew he had time. Back in the side after those concussion issues. Hasn't played since March.
You could see the Parisian turf cutting up there. Pretty powerful scrum there from France. Collapses early, and that has not been a theme of international rugby in the last month or so. The scrums have been very competitive, but they've stayed up, and I'll be hoping that Jaco Piper can keep it that way today. England, of course, last week, predominantly a second-stroke third-team pack, but they will have been worried by the failure of people who will be replacements in the World Cup to make an impact.
Tiersport just warned to get away there by the referee. Numbers right at the line out, and the half-back not standing in the half-back position there. Often the case these days. Referee quite kind to point it out before France made the offence.
Stop.
Again, often the case these days. Michalak, crossfield kick. Auger went up with Johnny May. Has gone forward off the Toulouse man. Johan Auger.
It's going to be much more of a test for Johnny May today. Came through with flying colours last week, but Auger has tormented England in the last few years. Very powerful man, physical, gets up in the air. He's got great feet and he's a deadly finisher. I think he's pretty close to world class when you talk about wingers, that man.
Try last week too for Anthony Watson.
Yeah, Auger will fear May's pace. May be worried about Auger's presence and power.
Turf holding up away from the centre spot, and England getting the penalty. That will please the forwards no end, and in comes Burrell and George Ford as well, just to slap a few backs to say well done. That was an important moment. They enjoyed that.
Well, you saw Tom Young's arm go up in the air, and often that's a sign for a team struggling. But the South African referee's decision is France weren't straight. Eddie Benarous in particular in on the angle, and that split England, hence the penalty. Oh, that's a bad start. Ford's missed touch.
Ford missing his touch. And Auger sets off. Just lost his footing there. Tiersport. Leroux was sliding around, wasn't he? Such a warm, dry day. Still very warm the evening. It'll be a tough workout for the players, but then that's what the summer camps were for. Ford's missed that one. Been a shaky start for the England fly half, and this could put England on the back foot here. Nakatathi's gone wide now. He was hovering. Goes Bastereau, and through and on goes Schulich.
Right.
Tiersport, Michalak. Plenty of French players on that far side. One of them Fofana. Michalak. I think that's the captain carrying Pape. Did it well. It'll roll on. Gain an extra metre or two of the momentum. All with his side here. Bastereau involved again. Inside that England 22 now. Ball's clean for Tiersport. Crowd enjoying this. Strong start from France. Michalak. Taken by Fofana, knees Auger and Leroux. Pape there again. Through comes Marler. Referee waves it on. Maestri. Buried underneath all of that. He gets it back to a colleague. In goes Ben Youngs. Thinks he might rip this away. Rico Piper doesn't like what he sees.
Balls up, but you can't come from the side. Number 3 came around the side. Balls up, but came around the side.
Well, Dan Cole penalised for coming around from the side, and that's another penalty at the contact area, and it's another chance for France to kick the points and to go 6-0 up. Initially, from the previous breakdown, Joe Marler did really well. The ball came out and his timing was super, but there you can see Dan Cole. I mean, saying he's come around from the side is almost generous. He's tried to come in from the French way there.
Young seemed to have control of the situation. In comes Cole, clearly from an offside position. Penalty given away. Should be 6-0.
It's a pretty poor pass to Wes Fofana. He did very well to hold on to it.
Closer range change of kicker. Freddie Michalak. And there it is. Just needs another point now to break the French record. Let's go down to pitch side and Will.
Yes, Miles, just thinking about the fly-half debate, Ford v Farrell. Everyone assumes, obviously, George Ford's attacking game. At the moment, just lacking a little bit of control. Kick straight out, missed touch from a penalty. Didn't get anywhere near high ball. Away in Paris, just now needs to show a little bit of composure. We know he's the best attacking fly-half we've got, but can he control the game?
Let's see about this restart. It's dangerously close to the touchline, but Noel arrived for England to make the tackle in field. Just. Swapping the French halfbacks in that traditional French way.
Yes. Balls out.
Board back there to kick. This time not quite the gain.
You know, it's very interesting what Will was saying there about George Ford, because people who have watched this England team for a couple of years will have noted how often they start a game badly. Sometimes they try to control themselves and they're slow off the mark. Other times they want to go out, they come out like greyhounds out of the traps and they just can't get it going. When you kick off, your adrenaline goes, you need to slow down, calm down.
Runs, throws, and it's back on the French side. Stolen line out. Michelak. What can Mike Brown do from here? Use that big left boot of his to find Louis Picamoles. He's shed a bit of weight as well, the French number 8. And looks in superb shape. Charged down by Launchbury. Didn't know too much about it, but his big frame got in the way. With Michelak's loose kick, Bastereau clears it up. For his fellow Toulon man, another French penalty.
Not supportive of your weight. Way beyond your weight, on your arms.
Well, England are being murdered at the breakdown here, and I think every time the decisions are right. It'd be interesting to hear what Pat Sanderson has to think of it, former England captain in the back row. But that's 3 breakdowns, 3 contact points, 3 penalties, France.
Well, discipline was an issue for England last week, penalties given away. And this one finds its touch, and let's find out from Pat Sanderson what he's thinking about.
Well, there's been much talk of the back row and the balance and I guess the lack thereof of an out-and-out 7 like a Stefan Armitage. But all the back 3 look very, or the back row look very, very upright. And to address that balance, you've got to look to the rest of the team. And here you see Launchbury and Cole trying to address the lack of natural presence on the floor from the back row. Now, it matters more when you have a Southern Hemisphere referee. They favour the breakdown, unlike the Northern Hemisphere referees, which like set piece. It's a big, big test on the floor for England tonight, and right now they are second best.
It's led to another excellent attacking position for France. Gerardo, well, he did it right, it just went through the hands. Still with France. So no loss of possession on their part of the lineup. 1 out, big men. Robshaw makes another tackle, but Gerardo is in there, and now Eddie Benarous, the complete prop, really. Tremendous around the park. Bastereau always felt we quite like to have been a prop. He's tremendous too around the park with that power game. Pascal Pape in there. Cole's got to watch that. He's given 1 penalty away. Slimani, and who can play both sides of the scrum, very useful in a World Cup squad. England looking for one of those. Maestri again. Oh, that's a good carry. Over 17 stone of him. Now the chip on Mike Brown. Got his hands and his fingertips up there into the sky, and that is fine work from the England full-back.
A super play from France as well. They controlled that ball really well. They picked and drove, and the little chip from Board was an absolute beauty. Michelak had gone back into Drado of the post. Very clever kick. There you can see the 2 of them in tandem, 2-on-1. Brown has to take that or it's 13-0 France. Superb play. You saw Uge beat May to the ball. Brown does brilliantly there.
That is a great catch, isn't it?
And again, credit to France. Board has started very well. His management of the game around the fringes good. His kicking is getting length. And that was a devilish little chip close to the line.
And Brown having the presence of mind as well to call for the mark.
Yeah, or he was in big trouble, wasn't he? This is very much how France started the first 5 minutes last week and played most of the second half, shading the set piece until the last 20. They dominated it, but with that control, really picking and driving well and making England look very much second best physically. And you can see there it's all France in terms of ball control.
And the meters they're making as well, another advantage here. Offside against the England back line, right in front. I think we know what Michalak is going to do. He's going to break the record.
I was going to say England now conceded 4 penalties.
Number 8. The whole back line rolled up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. England's discipline is very poor at the moment.
The boost there for James Haskell, who was denying France the ball.
The quick tap that they were never going to take. Just watch Billy Vunipola lead the line there. Oh, that's awful. Oh, really, that was pretty amateur. It's pretty amateurish. It's very sloppy from England. It's sharp from France. It's organised. It's powerful. But England at the moment are making life far easier for the home team than they would like.
Christophe Lamaison, 380 points. Freddie Michalak alongside him now after his 3 already tonight. And there he is, in front. Nobody has scored more points in French Test rugby history than that man. Freddie Michalak made his debut all those years ago, 2001. So it's a long career, just about the longest as well, in a French circuit.
Well, he was the superstar, wasn't he, leading into 2003. He cracked under the pressure in the rain of the semi-final. His career seemed to be sliding away, but what credit to him, he's back again.
Noah Nakatathi with the take again on the restart in his Pape. Of course, Nakatathi was the man who nearly didn't put the ball down at Twickenham. Continued running into the North Stand. It's a tight call in March. That free-flowing 55-35 win by England. Never thought I'd live to say that scoreline. What a day that was. Vunipola quickly, and Ford and Brown and Johnny Mays. England need to find a route back here. And calling for the mark is record man Michalak, the man that you feel Saint-André would love to come through and make that jersey his own.
He is. I mean, we sometimes overuse the word maverick, but if it was written for anyone, it's that man, Freddie Michalak. Remember against Haskell, was flanker. Michalak played delightfully in the quarter-final of the European Champions Cup. The semi-final against Leinster, he was terrible. Now that tackle by the Was Haskell, I think, was just about the first one-on-one physical collision where England have come out on top against France so far. I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say this is a really poor start from England.
Haskell came on last week and did some great work, turnover work.
It's not straight.
That's not straight.
Option. Scrum, line out. No, scrum. Not straight.
France are getting into England. One of the things they're doing as well, they're getting men off the ground as Olivier Magnier looks on. Doesn't look that impressed, but I think he'll be pleased with the way his French pack are going. They're getting men off the ground, and when you can do that, that does put pressure on a hooker. I know Tom Young's figures are much better playing club rugby, but this is another environment, and when the pressure comes on, that's when he has to prove it.
How long's the Dylan Hartley suspension for?
Fine.
September the 19th, but I can't see Stuart Lancaster changing his mind there any more than I can see Stephen Armitage coming back.
Well, Youngs has got time to get this sorted out. England have got time, but they can't afford this to become a growing problem to the point where it gets out of all proportion. Mike Brown had a chance to move it, opted to take on the tacklers. Ben Youngs, Tom's brother at scrum half, and George Ford puts it high. Jonathan Joseph, hardly seen him so far. Dearsport had time to get away. Slimani.
To Ruck, you can't pick it up.
Another penalty.
Ruck forward.
It's not a crisis for England because it's not the World Cup and it's a warm-up game, but I mean, one thing I will say, I would imagine that Lancaster, Farrell, Roundtree and company would be quite pleased that they've met up with Jacko Piper now, because they cannot read the referee's mind at breakdown at all. They're trying to play at pace, but all they're doing is playing into the hands of France at the moment.
Quickly before the kick, we go
Due to get out of their area. There, the space was long right, had to put it in behind.
Michalak. This is probably just about at the limit for him. And it made him strain.
Got a remarkable kicking style, hasn't he, Freddie Michalak? It's hardly a style, there's sort of a bit of Charlie Chaplin and then bang, and it doesn't half fly though. Gee, he can strike a ball.
One for our younger viewers, eh?
That's before my time even. Much better kick from Ford there.
So play on.
Here's Michalak. I see what you mean.
Play on.
No Kane, but he's quick.
Gerardo. Dearsport again. Slimani running a good line.
Missed that.
And a good carry as well. Just all France, they're camped inside England's half. No wonder Andy Farrell wants it down there.
Hold you. Stand.
And there it is down there from Mike Brown. But Spedding loves these. Oh, he's just going to check himself and do the sensible thing. Crowd were getting excited. He does love a powerful counter-attack, like Brown, who supplied the kick there.
That was very good play from Spedding, and the first time he got the ball he ran. Burrell smashed him but then committed the penalty. This time he just says, I'm not even going to risk it. There you can see the line-outs at the moment. England have problems. French line-out strong. England, well, they've won a couple, but they've hardly won one decent ball. A couple lost. It really isn't good at the moment. Youngs and Laws are not working. Rob Shaw at the front.
Nice and short to the front. Rob Shaw, the captain. Sensible call from England, but Mike Brown can't take that. Knock on. It's been a rough first quarter this for England, but they are still in there, just trailing by 9. It's not the end of the world on the scoreboard, but conceding another score here at the Stade de France would make it quite a long way back.
Oh, you could say that again. I mean, it's a long way back if France hold on to 82% of possession. Good smart play from Rob Shaw. Go to the front and get the ball. It's not a bad move. England pull it round. Mike Brown's got to take that. But Brown, when he picks a line, does fade away from the passer. He needs to be coming straight onto that ball. Ford's ball is begging a fullback to hit it on the angle, but he doesn't. He fades off it, and I think that's why in the end it doesn't look a great pass, but Brown's got to pick a better line than that. England want to play at pace, and that's all well and good. But when things aren't going well and you're 9-0 down, you've got to just make sure that while things aren't happening, you get in the right part of the field, put the pressure on France and get themselves back into this game. At the moment, you'd still feel they're trying to force the game.
Crouch. Bind. Now 2 teams moving. Square up, please. First of all, square up.
Still see those divots on halfway. There's another patch emerged on the far side.
Patience, wait. Mama. Crouch. Bind. Sit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's underfoot. Look. Let's
Frustrating this.
Yeah.
Just 3 wins for France in their last 11 now against England, following last week's victory for the men in white.
Inside.
Well placed today, though.
Inside.
Take this
Crouch.
as a start. Can France build on it?
Sit.
Oh, it's a powerful scrum, and it's going to get the referee to give another penalty.
Stay square.
Penalty count hammering England at the moment. Michalak does have the distance, does determine to go for goal. I'd say it is, you know, you think back to 2003, going into that semi-final, as both Will and Clive will well remember, Michalak was the golden boy in Australia, and Wilkinson blew him out of the water that day when the rain came down, and it just sensed that his career was dribbling away. A spell in Natal gave him a bit of zest. He's back in France, he's back in contention for the World Cup, he's back haunting England now.
Now this a little bit closer in than the one that he missed, and it showed. Kept his rhythm, kept his form. You can see there a bit of strapping around his fractured hand that he injured at the end of last season, but that's okay, and his boot is certainly fine. Clive Woodward.
Yeah, Barnes, just to pick up on Barnes, in 2003 Michalak was the star. It was the England forward pack blew Michalak away, and it's what is happening today. The French forward pack are just blowing England away, and Ford is the equivalent of Michalak all those years ago, but it comes with the forwards, and at the moment we're just nowhere. We're getting absolutely annihilated by this French team.
Thanks, Clive. Now England have a chance to at least get on the board. Soft one from France that. They will not be happy. Chris Robshaw will be.
It was an interesting call there. Ben Young's talking to Chris Robshaw. Robshaw in his early days as captain would have thought 12-0 down, let's go to the corner. But 12-3 with 54 minutes to go is plenty of time, and going for the 3 points was exactly the right decision. This is a kick that Ford gets 99 times out of 100, but he's had a difficult first 25, and he'll feel a lot better if this one goes over.
Well, that was a record against France for an Englishman in that meeting in March, that points fest at Twickenham.
But because the French pack are in such control, England cannot generate the fifth gear that they played in almost all that night, and France are able to handle everything with ease. The pack really has got England in a vice grip. Clive's quite right.
Well, Clive was saying before kick-off, wasn't he, that forwards win World Cups. At the moment, as he was just saying again there live during the game, France all over England up front. England have to sort that, but at least George Ford has this chance to get them on the board. Just about their first visit inside the French 22. Well, from a long kick downfield that was dealt with by Spedding.
Yeah, comprehensively outplayed. There's Jamie George. Pulse going for a second, thinking, here we go, my debut, but not yet. 30 minutes gone. Tom Young's top tackler with 11, which is a credit to Tom Young's, but it's an indictment of the fact that England are getting absolutely blown away. Look at those, the top tacklers there. I don't know if it's their top tacklers overall, but I think they are. Not a Frenchman in sight. They've hardly made a tackle.
I don't think, as a team, France would have got anywhere near what Youngs has done as an individual on the tackle front. But that 3 points has led to a restart mistake from the French. And there you go, just 4 tackles made to England's 54.
It's a 13-to-1 ratio. England 12-3 down. I guess on the balance of the tackles made, England actually have done quite well to just be 9 points down.
Stability.
Now, Ford made the mistake. France got the scrum, put the pressure on, never went backwards. Look at England though, immediately they've got a very aggressive Ford Brown now line straight behind the scrum. Very attacking minded. There you can see it.
Just how the ground holds up there. On the England pack two. And here they break away to find Knoll. On the outside forward, but that's good tackling by France. And they enjoyed that. Courtney Laws gets a mention. Jonathan Joseph too.
Number one, collapse. Number one.
Yeah, it's gone against Eddie Benarouz. Referee was playing advantage there for the collapse scrum.
Number one, collapsing, turning and collapsing.
England went sideways one way, sideways the other, going no way. Second time in this game Eddie Benarouz has been done, once for coming in at the angle, second time for collapsing. Very aggressive, but I don't think France at the moment need to do anything than be technically strong, because they do have the edge on England. And Ford going for goal. This goes over, 12-6. England are banging the game and they've been utterly outplayed.
Five years since that man looked the part when he burst onto the scene in under-20 international terms. Looked the modern prop then, and he's continued into a full international now, 6 cap, but a penalty offence there, and Ford. This would be a real bonus for England if he bangs this one over. Mike Catt, his coach, behind. He's got to give it a biff, and that is short. And Spedding slices that a touch. Balls to Ben Youngs. George Ford again, one for Johnny May to chase. Mike Brown as well, both of them after this. Let Michalak drop, and then the mercurial Michalak comes out of that somehow. Rob Shaw was okay. Check with the referee, but you probably heard ball was clearly out. Tier Sport. Brown to Ford. He's got Joseph outside, throws it to him. Only Knoll to Joseph's right. Ben Youngs finds Luther Burrell. Youngs wanted more depth on that. Nakatafi is lethal in those situations, so too Fofana when it breaks up and there's space in front of him, short side. They're wanting to get it back to Nakatafi, I think. Jack Knoll, aware of that, tries to come away, but it's fired up France again. It's fired up the home supporters again.
Missed that, cleaned up. Did not survive.
Ben Youngs again. That goes out, but Pickamoles will look to keep the tempo high. Michalak to Uge. It's a bit high. A challenge, yes, penalty. Michalak to Bastereau. Out it comes to Launchbury. Tom Youngs made another tackle, but it's all to no avail really, because the penalty we knew was coming.
Yeah, you want to review it?
Thierry Desauttois looking on, looks stern. He's injured at the moment, the French squad captain.
Yeah, perception is just a penalty. Let's just make sure.
It's Chris Robshaw should be looking stern, really. Maybe even more so after this, we shall see.
Screen now.
Yes.
I think it's high, I don't think it's yellow high.
Simon McDowell is our television match official. It's really polar, isn't it?
Well, you can boo all you like, crowd, but that's a penalty, but it's not more. I think Chris Robshaw, let's just see, no call yet. In a million years, that is not a yellow card.
Simon,
Yes.
is that all the angles?
Yes.
From my view, he starts on the shoulder, he slips up high. I'm thinking penalty only.
Correct.
Yeah. He started on his shoulder, he slipped up, so it's a penalty.
Right decision there, but Chris Robshaw has got to think about England's decision making. The reason Uge was just tearing through the middle is Ben Young's made the right decision to get the ball downfield and off the park, but it's all France. England need to get this ball further off the park because they're just allowing Picamole and company to go quickly, and the waves of attack keep coming. There was another earlier kick where England just feed in France and bringing the runners into it, and England are getting stressed out defensively because they're feeding France's counter. Tactically, they're all over the place at the moment.
Yes, it wasn't even a debate for Picamole whether he went quickly there. It was a gift. And another gift for Michalak in this form. Been all the boots, and pretty well all France and Michalak. Spenning got the first one, Michalak the one miss from distance on the angle, but nobody could say that France do not deserve that lead of 15-3 as we approach half-time. Pape, Noel, I think he thought he was going to catch it first time. Board and George Ford, but the chase is good from Nakatafi and Fofana, and Slimani is right up there as well.
Well, the ball went back.
The ball went back in.
That's a break for England. As the French anthem echoes around the ground, their pack will think, yeah, we've deserved that. Really started well, and Tiller's ball, that's just about his first error of judgment. Now what England would give for quick line-out ball and just to get Billy Vunipola over the gain line, get some momentum.
To the tail, from Youngs to find Courtney Laws. England need to try and snatch something here before half-time. Any which way. Vunipola passing into thin air there. Taken away by Leroux. Sautoir himself could not have done that any better. Michalak, chance to go along the line from Shuli to Nakatafi, and Robshaw's there to snuff out that threat. Comes Pape again. They said he'd been a bit sluggish in training. Nothing sluggish about the captain tonight, or indeed his team. He's getting over a minor knock. Michalak just knocks it in behind Jack Noel. No great angle there, and it's just gone straight to the boot of Maestri. England get lucky.
He deliberately played it.
Johnny May, another one of those players who will benefit from the space opening up when mayhem arises. England go to halfway with Burrell.
First flash of Joseph there, lovely feet.
Here's Ford. He can't locate his man. Tom Youngs, who is going through. France have it again. Quick ball here, could be interesting. Here goes Bastereau. Picamoles will look to straighten this. Tackle from Courtney Laws. Nakatafi to Michalak. Gerardo, that's good, got underneath the tackle and kept going. Ford, Fofana, Nakatafi. Maybe it's France who get that extra score just before half-time, and that could be a killer for England. But turnover ball, chance here. Jonathan Joseph, ball comes out of the tackle.
There's the ball, Losty. Hold it. Still advantage.
Now France are tackling there,
Advantage
tackling
over.
with some weight.
Stop.
Again, another one taken back in, so George Ford makes it bounce, and it bounces well. Over Nakatafi, who's going quickly. Jack Knowles there, but Spedding has the angle. This is really taking it out the lungs for both sets of players. George Ford again, digs deep and goes. Nice little shimmy. Jack Knoll cuts back inside. There's an angle for him. And the winger used it. Ben Youngs to George Ford. There's nobody at home at full back. Down again with Marler.
Haskell just ran at the direction of the pass, arms not up. England are not organised in midfield. They're not feeling their way off Ford's passing.
Here they go again with Burrell. Ben Youngs. It's Joe Marler. Youngs again finds Ford. Here's Haskell. Staying on his feet well there until the support arrive. Here's Launchbury. Joseph with that step of his. There's Burrell with that power of his. England at last finding some continuity here. Haskell though stopped, and again the crowd enjoyed the weight of the French tackling. Launchbury's going to get it now. Comes in from Pickamoles. Ben Youngs to Jonathan Joseph. This time England do retain it. Luther Burrell. Just over 2 minutes until the interval. Ben Youngs again. That's Tom Youngs down there. Boot comes in, England get a penalty.
One assumes Chris Robshaw makes this 15-6 because there's still half plus to go, 9 points. All it needs is a try and you're back in the game. Lancaster, Roundtree, Farrell looking on. They will be very disappointed with what they have seen. Individually, France have been physically the more powerful team. Collectively, they have been stronger at the set piece, and England have had no joy at all in the breakdown. On the balance of this first half, you know, Miles, if England do go in 15-6, that's a pretty good return for a very poor 40 minutes. Good as France have been, England have been poor. Their decision-making has not been of a high enough standard.
Got some of that air back in the lungs now, George Ford. After that endless attack, it seemed. Right at the end of it, is the full stop going to be 3 points? It is. From Ford, we will have time to restart.
I think England would be wise to catch this ball and get it off the park, get in 15-6 down. 9 points deficit is not the end of the world. This has not been the 40 minutes England wanted leading towards the World Cup, but if they go in 15-6 down, they still have an opportunity to bounce back.
The end of that first half, they really made them count as well. Aggressive defence. England have a major challenge here.